It Ends With Us is a so-so film starring Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni about domestic abuse. It Ends With Us stars Blake Lively as Lily Bloom, or Lily Bloom the florist, and Justin Baldoni as Riley, some other last name, a neurosurgeon who she falls in love with, marries, and then divorces or has to separate from due to his domestic abuse. The film doesn't know whether or not it wants to be a romantic comedy or romantic film or a film, a subtle drama about domestic abuse. The film opens with Lily Bloom at her father's funeral, or coming home for her father's funeral, where she can't come up with five good things to say about her father. Peppered throughout the film, you find out that her father is an abuser of a sort towards her mother, and does force himself on his mother at one point in time, and she's just internalized or compartmentalized this abuse that she saw growing up. It's also peppered with flashbacks about her and the neighborhood kid who she meets and kind of falls in love with. After that, she is in the city trying to cool down on top of a roof, where she meets Justin Baldoni's character, who comes out, kicks a chair, and he describes to her that he's a neurosurgeon and just lost a patient who was involved in a gunshot wound, which that's important because it comes back up later that that's what actually happened to his elder brother. They meet there, and then she tells him that she's a florist. She's going to open her own shop, and time jumps forward. She's opening her own shop. A woman comes in trying to get a job, or just trying to see what the building is going to become. Ends up taking a job with her, though she doesn't need the money. Come to find out later that this woman is the sister of Justin Baldoni's character, which brings them back together. They start dating. They date for a little while, and he is very nice, cordial with her. They have these cute little dates sprinkled along before they start to cement their relationship together, and then they're cemented in their relationship. They go to a restaurant called Roots, where she meets the kid from her childhood, who now is a chef and owns his own restaurant, creating the situation where her first love now with her current love, and she doesn't want to go back to the restaurant, but she goes back to it later, where a fight breaks out between Justin Baldoni's character and the character from her childhood, because Blake Lively has like a bruise on her eye, because what happened is a couple days before, they're cooking something, or Baldoni's character's cooking something for her. It starts to burn, so he goes in to reach for it. As he reaches for it, it burns his hand. He moves his hand back and slaps Blake Lively's character, knocking her out or giving her a light concussion. So they end up having a fight there. He gets kicked out of the restaurant, and then she stays with him because it was just an accident. It was just an accident. It didn't mean anything. And then a little while later, what ends up happening is she's there at the house. They start to have an argument or a fight because he finds her phone, supposedly drops her phone, and the card with the guy her childhood love's numbers written on it. So they end up having a fight, and she starts to go to leave, or Baldoni's character goes to leave. He starts to go down the stairs, but Lively follows him, but she ends up falling down the stairs, hitting her head and having a scratch or a cut on her head. Baldoni, being a doctor, stitches it up, and then she ends up going back or leaving, and then meeting up with the person who she had her childhood love with, who takes her to a hospital where she gets treatment for abuse, or asks about x-rays to find out she's pregnant. She goes back home, where she ends up basically having flashbacks to where her father was abusive towards her mother, and she realizes that Justin Baldoni didn't accidentally hit her, or he goes into fits of rage, and what happens is he can't control his temper, and he's actually abusing her, or it's a domestic abuse situation. Again, this one doesn't really know if it's wants to be a romantic film or a film about domestic abuse on the surface level of it. It's a so-so film. Then you have her character basically breaking up with Baldoni's character. She's pregnant. She gives birth to the child. Baldoni shows up at the child's birth. Is there with him. He holds the child for a little while. Then he gives it back to her, and he goes back to work as a doctor. She tells the child that this ends with us, and then you have like a flash forward for a few years where she's at a farmer's market and she sees the guy she was in love with when she was a child, who's also at the farmer's market, and then it kind of hints off that there may be a sequel, there may be additional film in the series because it's based on a book by Colleen Hoover. It Ends With Us ends on that note with them getting in the car and driving off. Like I said, it's a so-so film. It's one that doesn't really know where it wants to go with stuff. It doesn't really know where it wants to go with the domestic abuse issues, or whether or not it is just a straightforward romance film. It's an okay film. I would kind of recommend it, kind of not recommend it. I recommend it for people who like Blake Lively or like Justin Baldoni's work. I would recommend them watching it. It is, if you're a fan of the book, you need to watch it because it's based upon the book. Other than that, I probably wouldn't recommend this one. It's on Netflix right now. Thank you for watching. Feel free to like, subscribe, share, and have a good day.